Hey everybody, welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite comic books. I've read a lot of comic books in my 7 years of reading comic books, and today just going to be talking about some of my favorites that I've read. I'm going to be telling this in a format of start to finish. I can't just pick a franchise. I have to say like a storyline from that franchise, like Superman Red Sun, or Batman The Long Halloween. I can't just say Batman or Superman. But with a lot of creator-owned comic books, it's a start-to-finish kind of thing. And there are a few creator-owned comics in here. There are mostly creator-owned comic books in here. But yeah. I have a few honorable mentions. But first, I've been reading comic books for a long time. I haven't read, and I consider myself an expert, but I still haven't read all of the good comic books people say. I haven't read Sin City by Frank Miller, nor Ronin by Frank Miller, or creator-owned comics like Saga. It's pretty new thing, mostly because my library doesn't have them. But my first comic book that is an honorable mention, and it is Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, the first and second story arc of this comic are beautiful. I love them. Good art, good colors. A team, Tom Smith's Scorpion Studios had to come back over in 2011 and 2012 to go over Eastman and Laird's groundwork in 84 through like 92, I think, around then. They had to go back over it in color, and they did a great job. But after the first two story arcs, we're left with a jumbled mess. It's very inconsistent, and it can get repetitive at sometimes. I even bought the second volume just to see if it would get better. It didn't. So if you're gonna pick up Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I would only pick up Volume 1, Colored Classics, just so you can get the colored. The Scorpion Studios does a great job with coloring. They do shading, reflecting, things like that. They do it great. What I really love about this is your first look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles through the creator's eyes. We see that as a really dark and edgy group of Ninja Turtles. They're drawn much differently than they are today. They're drawn very roughly. Their faces, much more elongated neck, more turtle-like face. Weird. But here's our first look at them in color. Looks great. And something I didn't know before I read this is, in the original, all 4 Ninja Turtles have the same red headband, so that's pretty cool. I would pick this up if I were you. Only the first volume. Don't even bother with 2 and 3. I was dumb enough and gullible enough to buy Volume 2. My next honorable mention is going to be Wolverine Old Man Logan. Now, with Old Man Logan, the art sucks. I do not like the art. I used to think I did, but I've gone back, and my tastes in comic book art have really changed. I've gone to I like much more stylized works. Not too stylized. If it just looks like bad, no. But you can tell style from being a bad artist, definitely. It tells a good story of Wolverine has to go to the other end of the United States because Hulk owns his estate, and he has to pay rent, but he doesn't have enough money for rent. he has to go and then come back, but when he comes back, Wolverine's not happy. You're going to have to read the story to see what actually happens. I'm trying to spoil as little as possible, unlike with these other book reviews that I've done. The next honorable mention is going to be Geoff Johns and Andy Kubert's Flashpoint. This comic does not get enough love. It's one of the better comic books that have come out in the past decade, definitely. Comics have just 80s, or no, 60s, 70s is when Watchmen came out. 80s, Frank Miller's Rise. 90s, Frank Miller dips down. We get Spawn, we get To the Max, and then we go back up in 2000. Things are looking better. 2010. Whoop. 2020. Whoop. It's just been a tough road for comic books the last few decades. But Flashpoint surprises me. It's got good art. Now I've always been a better fan of non-digitally drawn art, but it's a gripe that cannot be escaped. Really, like, you can definitely tell there's a lot less mistakes in digital drawings because you can just tap a button and it erases. Tap a button, your inking's gone. But there are some people that do it better than others, and definitely some people do it better than others. I love Flashpoint. It tells a good story, has good art, has good characters, has good colors. It's just all around good, not amazing, but worth you picking up. This is a cheap comic book if you're just looking to pass a day or two worth of comic reading. I'd pick this up. This is a good comic book. Definitely one of the best that's come out in the past 10 years. Alright, so now we get into my top 5 favorite comic books that have come out ever, pretty much, that I've ever read. Number 5. This is ranked. Number 5. Our first in this ranking is going to be Calvin and Hobbes by Bill Watterson. Bill Watterson had a goal. He wanted him, and only him, to create a story from start to finish. Well, not really a story, it's a comic strip. But he wanted to go 10 years, and he did. He went 10 years. And it's funny all the way throughout. It's cute all the way throughout. It follows Calvin, mischievous young boy, and Hobbes, his stuffed animal friend. It's up to the reader to think, is he really stuffed animal, or is he actually Hobbes? And is he actually just Calvin's imagination? And that's up for you to decide. I love this. It has cute childlike charm. It's funny. More than not, is it funny? Which comic strips definitely struggle with nowadays. Bill Watterson's art, very stylistic, very beautiful. Not very cinematic. Doesn't need to be. It's just a cute little doodle. So yeah, I love this comic. Close to my heart. Number 4. I do not own this one, but I have read it twice. It's at my library currently. I just didn't want to buy it because, well, I get it for free from the library, and I can just save my money. When I read this, I was currently saving up for the PlayStation 5. See it up there. And Watchmen, it really marks the start of more serious comic books. It was a breaking point between different comic books. You had Watchmen branching off into Frank Miller and other artists and writers like him, like Alan Moore, who did it originally. I think it was Alan Moore who wrote Watchmen. But Alan Moore, he does a good job. The art is good. The coloring is surprisingly good. It's not these vibrant colors like you see in a lot of 70s comic books. It's very monotone. You still have the bright colors, but it isn't like popping off the page, which I like. Number 3, or we'll just go back to Watchmen for a second. There are a lot of hidden meanings in Watchmen. Boy oh boy, are there a lot of hidden meanings in Watchmen. Watchmen follows Rorschach, a superhero, detective, superhero, more of a mean detective, cruel detective, trying to find out why the government shut down superheroes. It tells the story very well, engaging, sad story. Number 3, this was one of the first comic books I owned, really. It was Infinity Gauntlet, Black Panther, and then this. And this was one of the first comic books I loved. We have Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, by written and illustrated by Frank Miller. Now, I love Frank Miller's Batman. It's so cool. Way better than other Batmans. I do love it. But year 1, it was a little lackluster for me. Shoot me. Everybody says year 1 was great. But I don't like it as much as I like Returns. I think it has a short story. Not very well formatted. Things like that. Little gripes that just add up. And boy oh boy did this spawn Frank Miller to go actually crazy with his lesser known things that he worked on after this in Batman. Boy, those are some of the worst comic books of all time. Frank Miller, I don't know what you were thinking with the Batman storyline. But let's focus back on The Dark Knight Returns. It tells the story of Bruce Wayne. He's retired. He's hung up his Batman cape. But he's inclined to come back after thinking Robin's gone. He finds a new Robin. It's sad, but it ends with a crazy fight. It's cinematic. We all know who he's fighting. We see beloved villains like Two-Face and Joker in this comic, with beautiful colors from Lynn Varley. He is a great watercolorist. That's what he uses mostly, watercolors, and I love it. I love the colors, vibrant, popping off the page, yet subtle. Alright, top 2. Bum, 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 bum. My number 2 favorite comic book. I also don't have this on me because, boy, it would be over $100 to get it, and my library already had it. Number 2, my favorite comic book is Akira by Katsuhiro Otomo. Katsuhiro Otomo wanted to tell a story from start to finish. 6 volumes. Took him a long time. Took him over 10 years. He did it all by himself. He did the writing for this story. He did the illustrating. He did the lettering. And he even did the inking. Which is crazy to me that he would do all that by himself. Just ludicrous. And he's a good writer. Good illustrator, good inker, barely any mistakes in the art. You can't find many, except in like the background. You look at the background, oh, that person's missing an eye. Who cares? It's in the way background. But he doesn't miss details in his art. But the story, man, does this have a good story. The movie, people are always talking about how good the movie is. If you like the movie, come read the manga. I'm not a big manga fan. I do not agree with a lot of tropes that manga have now. But Akira is a lot different than other manga. It's not like that. It's good. It tells a story of post-nuclear attack Japan. And it follows a young group of a biker gang through hell, basically. It is crazy. You have awesome villains, awesome fight scenes, cinematic, and where Katsuhiro Otomo shines in his art is his buildings. It is so detailed architectural drawings that you would think that you're looking at a blueprint for like a tower that's being built in modern day Japan right now. But you see just sheer destruction in this comic book. I'd pick it up. It's a big read, over 3,000 pages, but it's worth it, and it's a quick read, a lot quicker than number 1 here that's coming up. Because Katsuhiro Otomo, he wanted to show as much through his art and as little through words as he could. And that's awesome. Number 1, drum roll please. Number 1, my favorite comic book. I read this very recently. I just actually finished the series earlier today, and that is Invincible. Oh my gosh, is this a comic book? Oh, or what? This is beautiful. It is amazing. There are very few gripes that I have with the storytelling. I am going to be doing an in-depth review maybe tomorrow, the day after, on my channel. Wait for that. I'm probably going to spoil a little bit in there. I'm trying to cut loose with this and not with this top 5 and not spoil anything. But Invincible, this is huge. Here's volume 2. Here's volume 3. This is a lot to read, and it's so engaging that I read all that in less than 2 weeks. It's very rare when I'll shut off my PlayStation to go read a comic book or novel. It's very rare that I do that, and I did that with Invincible, and that shows something very special here. Invincible follows Mark Grayson through his flowering into superhero idom. But we follow him becoming a superhero, see his problems, and you're probably thinking, oh, just another superhero story. No, it's different. It has a lot of the same tropes as modern superhero stories do, but it breaks loose. It just, you think it's going this way, but it goes this way. It's crazy. I will be doing an in-depth analysis on later tomorrow or the day after. I already said that. But I will be doing an in-depth review. This is a great comic book. I have 3 main gripes with this comic book. That's it. And I'm not going to name any of them because they're spoilers. But yes, this was written by, I always forget his name, Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead. So this is a very famous man. And I'm glad, because this is the only issue comic book that we're talking. This was a creator-owned comic book. written out in issues in America. Beautiful. The issues were pumped out. I just very recently read this. As I said, 2 weeks ago I picked this up. But it started in 2002, ended in 2017. Told a linear story. We do have a few side plots, but they're very interesting too. But yeah, pick this up if you want a good story. Now let's get into the art. Like I said earlier, I'll take physically drawn art over digitally drawn art every day of the week, no matter who it is. Or that's wrong. Forget I said whoever it is, because me physically drawing versus a good digital drawer, we're not even gonna compare. All right, he will do way better than me. But this is one of the rare instances where the art is very expressive. And I feel like modern comic book artists, I don't know if it's the digital, but they have a lot of problems drawing expressionate faces. Expressive faces, not expression. What am I talking about? But he does well. Ryan Ottley and Cory Walker. Ryan Ottley, much more than Cory Walker. For the first 7 issues, Cory Walker does pretty alright drawing this. He draws Omni-Man well. He draws Mark Grayson very well. But he comes back later, and he's bad. But we're not talking about that right now. Ryan Ottley, he's good at drawing all the way through. Till the final issue, really. Cory Walker left after issue 7 because he just couldn't meet the monthly deadlines. Ryan Ottley could, though. So, yeah, doing an in-depth review on this. Don't forget, tomorrow or the day after. This is my favorite comic book of all time. If the thing is, I would recommend this, but it's almost $70 with shipping to get all 3 volumes of this, which is insane. My library luckily had them with it, or with my library. I was able to obtain them. But yeah, if your library has Invincible, pick it up. It is a great comic book. So yeah, hope you enjoyed my top 5. Please pick up all these comic books if you haven't read any of them. And yeah, have a good day.